Hi guys, Maikeru here. This is another video on the Personal Slayer dungeon. I haven't done one of these for quite a while since Menethos' release and I was doing them back then. I did promise you guys that I'll do one on the Spiritual Mages and the Spiritual Warriors, so I thought I'd make it now, and I'm going to make some more in the future. Don't worry, it will still carry on. In this video, I will be doing Spiritual Mages versus Spiritual Warriors. I'll be comparing the XP and the GP rates of both of them using exactly the same setup for each. To be honest, they're both amazing money and experience. They just have a couple of different things that one might be better at than the other, so I'll be comparing all of these different things in this video. So let's get into it. My gear setup is pretty simple. I run 2 Holy Overloads to last me the hour, alongside some prayer pots to obviously keep my prayer up during that time. I take a couple of emergency food. I never really need it, but it's there just in case you AFK too hard. I take my Slayer Codex because I have 50 souls, so I can teleport straight to the Sunken Temple, which helps a lot. I take a large rune pouch. Inside the rune pouch I have air runes, fire runes and nature runes. The air runes is obviously to cast my air spells, and the fire and nature runes are for high alchs. I also take magic notepaper to note the things that they drop that isn't alchable. With Spiritual Warriors, for example, I note all of the potions they drop because the super potions are worth maybe 6k each or something at the moment. So 6k is definitely warranting a note. Because the notepaper is only about 1.7k, it makes it so you're getting about 4.3k profit on a 6k potion, which is worth it in my opinion. I take a Ring of Vigor so I can switch to it when I use Sunshine. I have an Enhanced Excalibur for some extra healing, and a Spring Cleaner for most of the rune drops. For the gear, I take a Vampirism Aura. Any XP boosting auras work as well, or Penance or something like that. I do take some Zamarakian items, so I take the Boots and Gloves of Subjugation and the Illuminated God Book of Chaos. All 3 of those are actually Zami items. This means that the Zami Wizard or the Zami Warrior will not actually attack me. It just means every so often I might need to click on one of them to make them aggro me, but normally because I'm doing my Revolution rotation, the chain will hit the mobs anyway, so it's normally okay. I take the Anima Core of Seren. Anima Core of Seren is not a God Wars Dungeon 1 armor, and it doesn't share any god with God Wars Dungeon 1, which means it doesn't make anything unaggressive, and it gives just as good stats as Nex armor except for the prayer and the HP, which you don't really need here. If you took Nex armor, it would all be unaggressive, so it's not worth taking the Nex armor. I take an Amulet of Souls, but you can take something like an Amulet of Blood Fury. That works here too. I take my Max Cape, a Quiver for some extra prayer, Luck of the Dwarves for some extra drops, but other luck rings do work here, and my Nox Staff. You can take a Nox Staff if you have one, but it's still normally fine if you do take a lower tier staff. You just won't be getting quite as good rates, which is understandable. I also use a legendary pet to help pick up the loot. It definitely helps when you're using your Spring Cleaner and stuff, because your Spring Cleaner will stop one of them dropping loot, and then the next one you kill you'll be able to get it picked up by your pet. It just allows it a bit easier when you're looting, especially against the mages that are sometimes quite annoying to area loot because they're fairly spread out. The Karamin perk is also super helpful here with chain. It makes your chain hit 3 more people if you get Karamin free. This means your chain will hit everything in the room. Definitely a useful perk to look into if you don't have it. It can be quite expensive though, so if you're on a budget, it won't be worth it. The first thing I want to say is these Spiritual Warriors and Mages are really awesome for invention components from War Priest items. So if you needed any God components, these are pretty good to farm for them. I know the War Priest only gives 1 component each, but you do get them quite quickly. Definitely worth noting with this method. The Spiritual Warriors were absolutely great. They would run over to you and you don't really have to move at all. You just stand underneath the chandelier in the middle, and all of the AoE that Mage has to offer made quick work of these warriors. I would pop Sunshine here and there when I could be bothered kind of thing, so I wasn't trying super duper hard to get as much DPS out as I could. I was semi AFK in it and just popping cooldowns whenever I felt like it. Occasionally, like I said, I had to click on the Zamorak warrior in the distance if he didn't get aggroed by chain and stuff like that. But looting all is nice and easy with the warriors because all of the loot is near you because they all run over to you. Definitely a nice AFK method. Probably be a little bit less GP an hour if you fully AFK'd it, but the Spring Cleaner breaks down a lot of your drops, so you don't have to pick up too much. It's more like the potions and stuff that you'll be noting. I was using a friend's dungeon, so he thought he'd surprise me and come in with the worst fashionscape I've ever seen. He's tried so hard to look ugly, so I can appreciate that. I thought I'd put it in this video. I appreciate him lending out his dungeon to me, and that ugly fashionscape is too bad not to include. For the hour of Spiritual Warriors, we made 4.77 million GP. As you can see, we got 2.5 mil in the alks. There was a lot of Addy two-handers and rune halberds to alk. The rune halberds out for 75k each, so that really adds up quickly in your cash stack. Like I said, noting the potions is definitely worth it. Obviously the note paper cost is deducted from that, so we made like 500k in the potions, which is pretty good. The rest is the noted ores and coal that were dropped, and 90 runite ore from my spring cleaner. We also got 2 drops of ghostly essence, which is an extra 160k. So 4.77 mil is pretty awesome. It's about 4.25 mil with the springs and the note paper deducted. Definitely a worthwhile hour. I also got 500,000 magic experience, which I'll speak about later on in the video. The spiritual mages hit a bit harder. The Armadillo spiritual mages hit super hard, so it's good to prioritize those over the other mages just because of the amount of damage they do deal. They were also a little bit harder to AoE down because they're very spread out. It's quite hard to hit more than one with Dragon's Breath and stuff. Chain can still hit 3 to 4 of them, but Dragon Breath is definitely much worse against these. The experience from these is slightly less than an hour because I believe you can't kill as many because they're just so harder to AoE. You still get quite a few kills and a lot of experience, and you get even more money from these because they do have better drops when they do die. I outed all of the battle staffs that they dropped, and then the rest of the rune items were disassembled by my spring cleaner. So I didn't actually use any note paper for these that I thought I might have. There was just nothing useful to note, to be honest. My friend does these AFK in his dungeon a lot, and he did have 5, but then he found that 5 deal a lot of damage if you're AFKing, especially if like 3 to 4 armadillo spawn. So he took out the extra one that kind of just hides out the back, so he just had 4. The XP rates between 5 and 4 is very minimal difference. You might get like 10k extra experience an hour if you have the extra one. Because he just kind of stands at the back, you never really AoE him down at all. And especially if you're AFKing, you're not really going to hit him at all. And it's just going to be extra damage that you're taking that you don't need to take. So having 4 of these can be beneficial rather than having 5. But all in all, they're pretty good to do. They're good experience. They're really good money. But they're just not quite as easy to AFK as the warriors. And they're much more annoying to loot because you have to run over to the loot that your pet doesn't pick up. The area loot is much harder to do here because one will die on the north side and one will die on the south side, and you can't pick up both. So that means you have to run to each one. But you can turn your spring cleaner on to break down the battle staffs. You won't make as much money an hour because the springs are super expensive and battle staffs don't really net a profit. But it's way more AFK if you do break down those battle staffs. So if you're willing to take a bit of a price cut and break down the battle staffs with your spring cleaner, you could do that as well. Well, the loot from these was way higher than I expected. I thought they were going to be pretty similar to the warriors at about 4.5 to 5 mil, but instead I got 6.2 million GP. Granted, I did get 2 Serenic Scale drops, but apparently they dropped them quite consistently, so that is not out of the ordinary. I got about the same GP from alking all of the battle stars as I did from the spiritual warriors, but then all of the other drops they give are higher in value, and my spring cleaner managed to break down more items than what it did with the spiritual warriors as well. The rune longswords that these drop apparently are really awesome for the spring cleaner. So all in all, we made 6.2 million GP. Minus in the couple of springs from the spring cleaner, it's probably just over 6 mil. So even with the prices deducted, just over 6 mil is pretty damn awesome. I also didn't want to alk my dragon gloves and dragon boots because I just wanted to show the amount that I got because they're kind of an interesting rarer drop. I managed to get 3 gauntlets and 3 boots, so that's pretty cool as well. All in all, from these 2 hours, I managed to get 6 war priest items from the warriors and 3 from these mages. So I got 9 pieces of war priest over the 2 hours. I feel like War Priest is just completely random, so even though I got more War Priests from the Warriors, I don't think that should be taken into consideration. I'm pretty sure they all had the same drop rate, so I guess Warriors might be able to give them a little bit more often just because you're killing a couple more. But both of them are super awesome for War Priest, especially for like Armadillo components or Zamorak components from those types of War Priests. So now let's get into the XP and GP comparison. Ending the video off comparing the XP and GP rates of both of them. We had the spiritual mages, which were less AFK, and the spiritual warriors, which were more AFK. What I mean by this is that the mages were much harder to loot from than the warriors, because the warriors would run over to you, making it much easier to area loot. From the mages, I got 370k magic experience and 121k HP XP. The warriors, on the other hand, gave me 500k magic XP and 163k HP XP. This means the warriors were 130,000 more magic experience an hour, which made them better by about a third. The warriors were really surprising how much experience they actually gave. I think it's because you could kill so many in an hour because they're just so weak to mage. But even though you kill so many warriors an hour, the GP difference is quite significant as well. The spiritual mages after cost reductions was 6 million GP an hour, whereas after cost reductions on the spiritual warriors it was only 4.3 million GP an hour. So it's pretty much the same deal as with the magic experience. It's about a third less than the mages for the warriors. So the warriors give like a third more magic XP but a third less money. So if you wanted experience, do the warriors, and the mages give a third more GP but a third less experience. So if you wanted GP, do the mages. That's it for this video. Both the mages and warriors were really awesome, both super good in their own way. Hope this video was helpful to you. Hope you learned something new. Please make sure to hit that like button if you did enjoy it, and subscribe if you're new for future content. My Discord link and my Twitter link are in the description, so click those if you fancy checking them out, and until next time, see ya.